Good morning, Fellowship Hi-Crest. This is your Jumpstart for the week of Monday, July 17th. And it's coming to us from Judges chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. And this is an interesting story. I've got it here, but I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Micah takes some money from his mother. A young man named Micah steals from his mother. His mother puts a curse on someone else, and he's like, hey, later on, he's like, hey, it was actually me who did it, but I've got the money now. I'm ready to pay you back. His mom says, cool, man, thank you. And you were so honest that I'm going to dedicate this to the Lord in your honor. I'm going to build an idol, and I'm going to give the money back to you in the form of an idol. And then Micah has this idol in his home. He builds a shrine to this idol, dedicates one of his sons as a priest to the shrine, and he creates his own gods in his home. And then the passage ends with this phrase: in those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. When we see those types of phrases that are repeated, like this one, all throughout Judges, the author is showing us that this is what we should pay attention to. And as I read this passage today, it makes me think of something that I've discovered recently. So growing up, there was a great biblical teacher that I admired who shared a lot of their story. And their story had some darkness in it, but it was beautiful because you see how incredibly powerful and strong in the Lord that this teacher is. And so I never thought much about their story, not to mention the fact that I was a child when I first heard about their story. As I grew up, I started to realize and witness the impact of the sin that they talked about in their story impacting and hurting their children and hitting their children. And all of a sudden, my eyes are open to the damage that was actually done by the sin that they committed. Now, this doesn't change anything about the character of the person, but I did not understand the implications of the sin. So when I heard the stories, I didn't think about, wow, that's going to cause some problems later. When we read stories like this, we can see the implication of sin. We have the ability to have hindsight because we already know what's happening in this passage. So we already know that Samson was the judge before, that Samson was incredibly arrogant. He really didn't respect the Lord. And now the people are in a terrible, terrible place when it comes to the Lord, to where they're dedicating idol worship to God. This hits my heart different because it causes me to realize a lot of times we pray for hindsight when we should be praying for vigilance. In what ways in our lives today are we living like there's no king in our lives and doing what is right in our own eyes? Are we doing this politically? Are we doing this in the way that we parent our children?